Thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk about Kriya Yoga and modern mindfulness practices. So we can look at Kriya Yoga as a journey to the inner self. And the origins of Kriya Yoga really come out of India. And in 1868, Shamcharan Lahiri, who was a Brahmin householder, journeyed to the Himalayas and met his guru Babaji and received this Kriya Yoga Diksha, this Kriya Yoga initiation. And so then Babaji directed Shamcharan Lahiri, who was later known as Lahiri Baba, to go back into the world as a householder and start to teach this yoga sadhana, this yoga practice. And the practices spread like wildfire. Many students from all over India came to receive Diksha, Kriya Yoga initiation, from Shamcharan Lahiri. And so Kriya Yoga is so powerful because it uses a form of intentional breathing that brings one into a low idle state, what is called Kriya Pranayama. And this is the mainstay of Kriya Yoga practices. And what it basically does is it leverages the body's central nervous system, in particular the parasympathetic nervous system, to bring one into a low idle state. So what can happen with the correct practice of Kriya Yoga is that one gets into a meditative state very quickly. We say 5 minutes or less, you're in a deep meditation. And so as a result of being internalized, meditative states start to unfold within one's experience. So one starts to go into dharana, into an internalized concentration, where the body starts to recede from one's awareness and one is truly internalized. And from there, one starts to go into absorption, dhyan, and starts to have absorption in one's inner meditative experiences. And from there, one can have the superconscious expansion of awareness, what is referred to as samadhi. And so the result of using this form of intentional breathing in Kriya Yoga and the absorption in one's meditative experiences leads to a very deep and profound state of peace and connection with one's authentic inner self. Now, if you're interested in learning Kriya Yoga, we are doing an online Kriya Yoga retreat from February the 7th through February 9th, 2025, in which students will learn all of the techniques of the first initiation or first chapter of Kriya Yoga, which allows students to experience internalization and meditative absorption. There are only 24 spots for this retreat, so if you're interested, sign up before the retreat sells out. You can sign up at kriyayogaretreat.eventbrite.ca. So when we turn to mindfulness, which are modern techniques for inner awareness, this really comes out of the practices that were originally developed by the Buddha over 2,600 years ago. And a very common hallmark of modern mindfulness practices is the mindfulness of breathing, which was articulated originally by the Buddha in Anapanasati Sutta. And so the essence of mindfulness really is to observe how the mind's attention moves from one thing to the other. And this provides insights into the nature of one's experience in meditation. And so the modern mindfulness movement really came about primarily by students, American students who were studying in Burma. And they started to transplant some of those practices back to the United States. And in particular, Jack Kornfield and many of his colleagues were trailblazers with that whole movement of bringing the mindfulness practices from Burma as done in Vipassana lineages that could be adapted for a modern audience. And so common practices within the modern mindfulness movement really have to do with having an awareness of the body, having an awareness of the breath, having awareness of the thoughts, having aware of the feelings. All of these things are really extensions of what the Buddha originally taught in his 4 foundations of mindfulness. So what are the commonalities with these approaches? Well, we see at the core of mindfulness and Kriya Yoga, these are both practices that allow one to start to have a meditative experience, start to experience an authentic awareness of one's inner self. The advantage of Kriya Yoga is that it uses this ingenious form of this intentional breathing, which really has physiological effects on the body and very quickly gets one into an internalized state. The advantage of mindfulness practices is it cultivates awareness. So really Kriya Yoga and mindfulness are grounded in what the Buddha was originally talking about. Kriya Yoga is grounded in shamatha, which is a way to become internally absorbed. And mindfulness is grounded in vipassana, which is insight. So when you bring together shamatha and vipassana, you have the perfect combination of meditation techniques, which is why at Modern Kriya, our website modernkriya.com, we combine these practices together. So we practice Kriya Yoga as taught in the Panchanan Bhattacharya lineage, in which the original Kriya Yoga has been taught for 9 generations, going all the way back to Lahiri Baba's teacher, Babaji. And we bring in key understandings in mindfulness, which is rooted in Vipassana. In particular, grounding one's attention in mindfulness, remembering to observe how the mind's attention moves from one thing to the other. So this is the merging of Samatha and Vipassana in a practice. So what are some practical tips that we can use to allow us to leverage both of these approaches, Kriya Yoga and mindfulness, to have the best meditation practice possible? So when starting your practice, you can ground yourself in mindfulness. So being aware of how your mind's attention is moving from one thing to the other. Once you have done that, you can engage in a process of intentional breathing. So if you know Kriya Yoga, you can engage in Kriya Pranayama. If you don't know Kriya Yoga, you can use a practice called heart rate variability resonance breathing that has been distilled from Kriya Yoga for non-Kriya yogis. It also works to bring the body into a low idle state by leveraging this slow, long, intentional breathing. And once you have done some kind of intentional breathing practice, you want to maintain mindfulness, to watch how the mind's attention moves from one thing to the other, and to let go of any attachment to any internal sense phenomena. And this will lead you into progressively deeper states of meditation. Now, in learning both Kriya Yoga and mindfulness, it's really important to have an experienced instructor to help guide your practice. They can provide you the initial instruction, they can be a source of feedback during your continual practice, and as well, they can help to direct you when you run into trouble spots in your meditation. And the other important thing is to really listen to your body as you're going through the meditative process, to really be aware of what is occurring and not to discount your experience, but to see it as a mechanism for your deeper understanding and deeper development. So really the intent of both mindfulness and Kriya Yoga is really not the practice themselves, but what it actually does for you. How does it allow you to develop in your life? Does it lead to greater understanding about your nature and the nature of things around you? And with this greater understanding, it really allows one to make more informed choices in one's life, allowing one to discern how making any particular decision leads to one's happiness or to one's unhappiness. And this allows an ongoing journey to help support one's physical, emotional, and spiritual health. So if you have any questions about this video, feel free to send me an email at info@modernkriya.com. Also check our website at modernkriya.com and our YouTube channel. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.